There is a real symmetry with Bitcoin there.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that one, the cat's out of the bag. There has been these regulatory challenges that regulation hasn't been able to keep up. There's hypocrisy within the regulations, but also there's these businesses, well, some businesses, some hobby projects that have propped up, which are there to help people route around the regulations or be prepared for a situation where the regulatory lens comes down quite hard on it.
I think so.
The type of person I think attracted to both types of Bitcoin or crypto and guns is a very different type of person. I think that law and government have to deal with now too. They're engineers, they're absolute nerds in the best way. They're highly focused, and it's coupled with a passion and an ideology, for lack of a better word to say. So it's an unbreakable structure.
I'm willing to take a cynical long-term view of it as well, but this is maybe its own success and it's independently of me. You know how in early Bitcoin, I don't know how long you've been involved, probably.
Well, 2012, 13 using the Silk Road, but I didn't get into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then into 16, 17, back in.
Okay. Well, from especially 12 to 14, the only people involved in Bitcoin were like freaks and criminals and, you know, like totally just awful people or absolute autists. And to some degree, the autists have stuck around in large numbers, but we've seen how like Karpolis and a lot of the charlatans get pushed out, and there are these new kind of quasi-professional types that come in, and we've courted institutional prestige. And now we have real finance people with real degrees. And okay, there's like this stage of participation. And I'll say that something like that will happen in our space. It's been maybe slower because it just started with a freak and a criminal. And eventually, as these autists professionalize, and the best case scenario I have for myself is they'll mythologize me into something like, well, he was a good guy. He was an agorist, and he wanted us all to make money or something. You know, that's the best case scenario. Probably the most realistic scenario is I'll be forgotten like the early criminals of Bitcoin, and we'll always pretend this was a kind of anodyne middle class thing that we were doing.
Perhaps not, because
life is long.
You have to look at the people who have been forgotten about, or in Bitcoin, or whose reputation has changed. It's usually because they moved on to Bitcoin from Bitcoin to another cryptocurrency, which has its implications. I don't see that happening. I more wonder though, do you need more Cody Wilsons to take the pressure off you? If there was you don't?
I don't think so. I think where things have gotten, it's already at this atomic phase of the network. It's networks of networks now. It's lots of people working independently, commercially, successfully. I don't think you need a figure like me to do anything really. I think at this point, it's more man on a wire. It's like, why is he still going? Does he need to keep going? Like,
he's a bit of a buffer, though. I think that you still exist and you're like a target does keep people away from.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Should I name them catalog from other people
that are
pushing things out there?
What was it Jeremy said earlier? Jeremy, the thing about the car. Come on the mic and say it. Remember the thing about the car, the racing car. Yeah, sorry.
How in drafting, like in racing, that there's the leader who breaks the wind, and that makes it easier for everybody behind them. So it takes those people to go ahead and face the harder things to face, but everybody else is able to make it easier because of that.
We were saying it earlier because there's a guy called Seyfedin Moose who wrote a book called The Bitcoin Standard.
Yeah.
Me and him don't really agree on a lot. And he is highly concerned about environmental alarmists. I think he has a fair point.
Yeah.
But I think he takes it to the very extreme of completely dismissing the reality of some of the science. But he essentially is that windbreaker for all the other people behind him who want to hold those ideas. I take the opposite position and say, I think he's right about this, but I think he's wrong about that, which pisses off all the more libertarian or right, conservative Bitcoiners. But I break the wind for the people who are perhaps a little bit more left of center.
I can say two concrete things about this. I have in the past thought of myself as an umbrella or a lightning rod while the groups were really nascent. Like from 2013 to 2015, very little was happening, and it felt fragile to me. And I was like, well, good that I'm still there in the Fifth Circuit trying to score a First Amendment thing. From 2018, when I got in trouble, both legally and personally, it looked like my death or whatever actually inspired a lot more participation. And I was like, well, I don't even need to come back. But it just so happened that like I maintained standing in our lawsuits, and that when these new laws come out, I'm one of the few people with the economic power, the market power, and the legal standing to actually move the needle anywhere in the courts. And it's not that like I think, I'm still cynical about the courts. I don't think I'll get great decisions, but by just holding the fight in the black letter, in the process, which is a long process, especially the federal appellate process, just holding it there, it keeps things in this glacial pace, which prevents even the worst of the progressives from going off narrative and getting improvisational. So that gives the other people time.